You know, I've been driving big rigs for damn near 25 years now, ever since I was 21 and needed to get the hell out of that little hollow in Mingo County where I grew up. Name's Ricky. Folks on the CB call me Hound Dog on account of my old bloodhound that used to ride shotgun with me before he passed. But nobody out here on these roads knows me as Ricky, not anymore. That name got buried back home with a lot of other things I don't talk about. July 2022 was one of those summers that felt like God had turned the heat up just to remind us we're still alive. West Virginia in July is its own kind of hell. Air so thick you could chew it, honeysuckle rotten sweet on the breeze, and every breath tasting like warm pennies and pine sap. My Freightlana's AC had coughed his last breath outside of Beckley, so I was running with both windows down, sweat pooling in the small of my back, shirt stuck to the seat like wet paper. I remember the exact load, 20 pallets of refrigerators bound for a warehouse in Charleston. The trailer was humming along behind me, steady as a heartbeat, while a radio played nothing but static and distant gospel stations that faded in and out like ghosts. Route 52 that night was empty in the way only mountain roads can be empty. Not just no cars, empty like the world had already ended and nobody bothered to tell me. Black walls of trees on both sides, kudzu choking everything it touched, moonlight slicing through the canopy in silver blades. Crickets were screaming so loud it felt like they were inside my skull. I'd been rolling for 16 hours straight. Coffee long gone cold, eyes burning, but I was pushing through because I wanted to be home before dawn. Home being a cheap motel room in Huntington with a shower that only ran lukewarm. Around 2 in the morning, my bladder finally won the argument. I saw the old way station coming up on the right, the one that's been closed since the 90s after they built the new one up by the interstate. Concrete pads cracked and heaving, scales swallowed by vines, the little cinder block building with its windows punched out like empty eye sockets. Place always gave me the creeps even in daylight, but I was hurting bad enough that I didn't care. I eased the rig onto the apron, set the brakes, and killed the engine. Silence rushed in like water, broken only by the tick-tick-tick of the motor cooling and those damn crickets. I walked around behind the trail, take care of business, boots crunching on broken glass and gravel. The air back there was even thicker, heavy with the smell of creek mud and something else, something like lilacs left too long in a closed-up room. I was halfway through, staring at the dark line of trees when I heard it. Ricky. Soft, close, a woman's voice, mountain accent thick as sorghum molasses, the kind my mama and grandma had before they passed. Not yelling, not whispering, just spoken like she was standing right beside me, maybe resting a hand on my shoulder. I damn near pissed on my own boots, spun around so fast I staggered, flashlight beam jerking across the weeds. Nothing, just fireflies drifting lazy between the trunks, and farther back, the blacker black where the forest got serious. My heart was hammering so hard I could taste metal. I told myself it was fatigue. Truckers hear things, everyone knows that. Exhaustion plays tricks. I finished up quick, zipped and damn near ran back to the cab. Climbed in, slammed the door, hit the locks even though I never locked my doors on the road. Sat there breathing like I'd sprinted a mile, staring at the dark through the windshield. Started the engine, pulled back on a 52, trying to laugh it off. Just a win. Just my own name's common enough. Probably some local girl messing with a driver, hiding in the weeds. Yeah, that was it. 10 miles later, just past a big curve by Dingus, the voice came again. Ricky, honey, you forgot to lock your door. Same voice, same gentle, loving tone that made my skin crawl right off my bones. It drifted in and through the open passenger window like smoke, sweet and warm. I jerked my head over so fast my neck popped. The door was locked. I'd hit the button myself. But when I reached over and touched the handle, it was warm, body heat warm, like fingers had just been wrapped around it seconds before. I rolled that window up so hard I almost broke the crank. Hit the AC button even though it was dead, just for the noise of the fan. Turned the radio up until the speakers distorted, some preacher screaming about hellfire. Anything to drown her out. But I could still feel her. Like the cab was suddenly too small, like there was someone sitting in the sleeper berth breathing quiet behind me. I kept checking the mirrors, expecting to see a face in the dark back there. Nothing, just shadows and the glow of my gauge lights painting everything blood red. I told myself I was losing it. Too many hours, too much caffeine, not enough sleep. Happens to every driver eventually. You see things, hear things, you learn to ignore them or you don't last. But she knew my name, my real name. I made it another 20 miles white knuckling the wheel, sweating through my shirt even with the windows up now. Pulled off at the old Exxon in Madison that's been boarded up since the flood of '25. Place looked like a bomb hit it. Pumps falling over, weeds growing through the concrete islands, the neon sign half lit and buzzing like a dying insect. I just needed to walk, get some blood moving, shake this off. I left the engine idling, stepped out, and the night folded around me again. Hot, wet air, smell of creek water and rust. I was pacing between the pumps, trying to breathe normal, when the voice came a third time, this one from inside the cab. You still chew that same wintergreen gum you did when you were 12, don't you, Ricky? I froze. Wintergreen tea-berry gum. The kind my mama used to buy me at the little store in Varney when I got good grades. I hadn't thought about that in 30 years. Haven't told a living soul I still keep unpacking the console for long hours. It's the only thing that keeps me awake sometimes. The taste takes me back to being a kid riding in the passenger seat of her old Chevy, windows down, her singing hymns while the mountains rolled by. I've never told anyone that. Not my ex-wife, not my daughter, nobody. I walked back to the truck slow, like I was approaching a coiled snake. Climbed in, shut the door, and just sat there staring at the pack of tea-berry laying open on the console. One piece missing, the one I'd chewed early outside Beckley. The cab smelled like lilacs again, stronger now, like someone had just walked through wearing my mama's old perfume, the one she wore to church before the cancer took her in '09. I didn't say anything, didn't dare, just put the truck in gear and drove. Drove like the devil himself was chasing me. Windows up, doors locked, radio blasting Southern gospel so loud my ears rang. Drove all the way to Charleston with my eyes flicking to every shadow in the sleeper, every reflection in the windshield. Whatever she was, she never touched me, never showed herself, just spoke, gentle and loving and wrong, like a memory that had learned how to talk back. I dropped that load at the warehouse just after sunrise, hands shaking so bad I could barely sign the bills. Told the dock foreman I was sick, took my payout, and drove straight to the motel. Slept for 14 hours with the TV on and the lights burning. Woke up crying and couldn't say why. That was 3 years ago. I still drive, have to. The road's in my blood. But I don't run 52 in summer. I stick to the interstates, even if it adds hours. And I never, ever roll the windows down when the air gets that thick, sweet smell. Because some nights, when the honeysuckle's blooming and the crickets are screaming and the moon hangs low and orange over the mountains, I still hear her, humming, soft as a prayer, Ricky. And then, real faint, like she's smiling, you left your door unlocked again, honey. I chew wintergreen now more than ever. Sometimes I catch myself humming that old hymn, Farther Along, the one Mama used to sing while she braided my hair when I was little. Same cracked, loving voice in my head. I don't know what she wants. Maybe just to ride along. Maybe to take me home. But every summer, when the air turns that certain kind of heavy, I lock the doors, turn the radio up, and keep driving. Because if I stop, If I ever answer her, I'm afraid she'll finally open that door herself, and I don't think I'd have the strength to tell her no. I've been running these mountain roads since I was old enough to reach the pedals, first riding shotgun with my daddy, then taking the wheel myself after he never came home. Folks called me Hound Dog on the CB, same as they called him. Richard Allen Thompson Sr. and Jr., 2 generations of men trying to outrun the same hollows and the same ghosts. He vanished in the fall of 1994, somewhere between Knoxville and home, hauling a load of furniture out of North Carolina. Truck was found 3 days later on the shoulder of 421, door open, coffee still warm, Conway Twitty crooning "Hello Darlin'" on the tape deck like nothing had happened. No blood, no struggle, no note, just gone. State police called it driver error, probable walkaway. Mama called it the mountain taking what it was old. I was 14. I've been looking for him in every red Kenworth I pass ever since. Summer 2019 was a mean one. Heat sat on the Smokies like a wet quilt, so heavy you could wring sweat out of the air. I dropped a load of tile in Knoxville and was dead headed home, running empty, just me and the hum of the engine and the ghosts I carry. Old 421 was the shortest way, a twisting 2-lane scar through the mountains that most drivers avoid after dark. Locals say the road remembers. They say it keeps pieces of people. I never believed them until that night. It was pushing 2:30 in the morning dark when I came around the big hairpin above Shady Valley. Fog was drifting up from the creeks in long fingers, catching in my headlights like cigarette smoke. My coffee had gone cold hours ago, and the radio only pulled in preacher stations and static. I was bone tired, that special kind of tired that makes your eyes feel full of sand, when I saw the hazards. Slow, lazy blinking. Orange, orange, gone. Orange, orange, gone. A late 70s Kenworth sat crooked on the shoulder, nose pointed bound heel like it had just eased over and stopped. Faded red paint the color of dried blood, chrome bumper pitted with rust, that same damn antenna bent at the tip from the time Daddy backed into the shed in 8 and 9. My stomach dropped clean through the floorboards. I knew that truck the way other people know their childhood homes. Same mud flaps, same dent in the passenger door where I'd slammed it too hard when I was 10. Same everything. I told myself it was a coincidence. Plenty of old W900s still running these roads, plenty of them painted red. But my hands were already turning the wheel, already easing my Freightliner onto the gravel, brakes hissing like something dying. You don't leave a brother on the side of the road. That's the rule. Even when every instinct is screaming at you to Floyd and never look back. I killed the engine and sat there a second, listening to the night. Crickets, tree frogs, the far-off rumble of my diesel cooling. The air coming through the vent smelled like creek water and something sweeter, honeysuckle maybe, or the ghost of Mama's lilac soap. I grabbed my mag light, stepped down, and the gravel crunched under my boots like bones. The Kenworth's door was hanging open. Not broken open, open like someone had just stepped out for a minute. Cab light was on, that weak yellow glow spilling across the seat. I called out, voice cracking worse than I wanted. "Hey, brother, you all right in there?" Nothing answered but the slow blink of the hazards. I walked closer, boots dragging. The closer I got, the more the years peeled away. I could almost see Daddy leaning out the window, grinning that crooked grin, telling me to quit growing or I'd outrun his stories soon. The paint was exactly the same shade of red, flaking in the same places. The antenna was bent at the exact same angle. Even the mud on the running boards looked familiar, red clay mixed with sawdust, the kind you only get around the old sawmill in Mountain City. I put my foot on the step and pulled myself up. The cab was warm, not engine warm, body warm, like someone had been sitting there minutes ago. The seat was still depressed, vinyl cracked and sweating, shaped to a man's weight. A styrofoam cup sat in the holder, coffee black and steaming, little wisps curling up like cigarette smoke. The radio was playing low, Conway Twitty, that same damn song, Hello, Darling. The tape deck was the original, buttons yellowed with nicotine, same as Daddy's had been. I could smell him in there, Old Spice and Camel cigarettes and the faint copper tang of the mountains. I don't know why I reached for the logbook. Maybe some part of it already knew. It was lying open on the passenger seat, held down by a half-eaten pack of Lance peanut butter crackers, the kind with the orange crackers he used to buy me at the Exxon in Boone. The page was turned to October 12, 1994. His handwriting, that same impatient scroll I used to practice copying when I was a kid. The last entry, written in blue beat pen, ink slightly smeared like it was fresh. Load delivered Knoxville, 19 outered hours, headed home. Boy's growing up too damn fast, 14 already. Tell Ricky his old man loves him and I'll be there for his birthday. Tell him I'm proud. I read it 3 times before the words made sense. Then I dropped that logbook like it was on fire. It hit the floorboard with a soft thud, pages fluttering. I backed down the steps so fast I almost fell, boots slipping on the gravel. My flashlight beam jerked across the trailer, empty flatbed, chains still swinging slightly like they'd just been dropped. When I swung the light back to the cab, the truck was gone. Not driven away, gone. One heartbeat it was there, solid as the mountain itself, and the next there was nothing but night and the smell of hot oil. The hazards kept blinking in midair for a second, orange, orange, gone, then winked out like someone flipped a switch. Fresh oil stains glistened on the shoulder where the tires had been in, dark and wet and spreading. I stood there and I rode with my mouth open, flashlight shaking so bad the beam danced across the trees. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Long enough for the crickets to start up again. Long enough for the fog to thicken and crawl across the asphalt like it was trying to cover something up. Eventually I got back in my rig. My hands were numb. I sat behind the wheel staring at the place where Daddy's truck had been, trying to light a cigarette and failing 3 times before the flame caught. The smoke tasted like ashes. I drove the rest of the way home with the windows up and the radio off, listening to my heartbeat trying to punch its way out of my chest. Next morning, I went back. I told myself it was to prove I'd imagined it. Told myself I was just tired, heat-stroked, grieving all over again because the anniversary was coming up. I left Johnson City at dawn, coffee in one hand, dread in the other. The stretch of 421 looked innocent in daylight, sunlight slanting through the trees, birds singing like nothing had ever happened. No oil stains, no broken glass, no sign a 40-ton Kenworth had ever parked there. But when I pulled over and walked a shoulder, my boots left prints in soft, red clay that had no business being there. Bright Tennessee red, the kind that stains everything it touches, the kind that only comes from deep in the mountains around the old family property in Watauga County. Property we sold after Daddy disappeared because Mama couldn't stand to look at it anymore. I scraped a handful off my sole, and it was still damp, still warm, like it had just been dug up. I threw it away from me like it burned. I haven't driven 421 since, not once. I take the interstate now, even when it adds 4 hours and costs me fuel. Dispatch thinks I'm crazy. My wife, ex-wife now, thought I was having a breakdown. Maybe I was. Still am. But some nights when the fog rolls in thick and the crickets are screaming and I'm running empty through the dark, I'll catch a glimpse in the mirror. Just a flash of red paint and blinking hazards, keeping pace half a mile back. Never closer, never farther. I don't speed up. I don't slow down. I just keep driving, hands at 10 and 2, telling myself it's only a trick of the light. But I know better. He's still out there, running his route, still trying to make it home for my birthday he never got to see, still writing in that logbook, maybe, adding new entries out never read. And sometimes, when the coffee in my cup holder is still warm and I didn't just pour it, sometimes I swear I can hear him humming along with Conway on a radio that isn't there. Hello, darling. Nice to see you. Waiting for me to pull over. Waiting for me to finally come ride shotgun again. I'm 50 years old now, getting close to the age he was when the mountain took him. I wonder how long he'll wait. I wonder if I'll have the strength to keep driving when he finally catches up. Because part of me, the part that's still 14 and waiting on the porch steps, wants to stop, wants to climb up in that warm cab and smell Old Spice and cigarette smoke and hear him say he's proud of me just one more time. The rest of me knows better. The mountain doesn't give back what it takes. It just lets you visit sometimes, just long enough to remember what you lost. I've been called a lot of things in my life. Ricky to the few family I have left, Hound Dog to the voices on the CB, and sometimes late at night when the roads got me talking to myself, just that poor bastard who won't quit driving. After what happened with my daddy's truck in 19, and that woman calling my name the summer after, I swore I'd stick to the interstates, safer that way, less room for the mountains to reach out and touch you. But money gets tight, dispatch gets pushing, and sometimes the shortest route is the one that pays. So in August of 2023, when they offered me a run picking up empty from Ashfield and dead heading back toward Johnson City, I took it. Highway 19 through the Smokies. I told myself it would be fine. Daylight the whole way home if I left early enough. But loads run late, and by the time I dropped in Ashfield and signed the bills, the sun was already bleeding out behind the ridges. Night came down fast in those mountains, the way it does when the hollers are deep, like someone flipped a switch and the world just went dark. August heat clung to everything, thick and wet, the kind that makes your shirt stick to the seat and your thoughts get slow and heavy. I was running empty, trailer rattling behind me like loose bones, AC blowing lukewarm because the system was on its last leg again. Frogs were raising hell along the creeks, that constant throbbing chorus mixed with katydids and cicadas left over from the afternoon. The moon hung low and swollen, the color of a fresh bruise, turning the mist rolling off the water into something that looked almost alive. I'd been rolling maybe an hour north of Maggie Valley, windows cracked just enough to keep the cab from turning into a sauna, when I first heard them. Singing. Soft at first, so soft I thought it was the radio picking up some far-off gospel station through the static. But my radio was off. I'd killed it outside Ashfield, because the only thing coming through was some preacher screaming about the end times, and I'd had enough of that noise in my head already. Nah, this was coming from outside, from the woods on the passenger side, right up against the guardrail where a drop-off falls straight down into blackness. Children's voices, 6, maybe 7 of them, clear, sweet, perfect harmony that made the hair on my arms stand straight up. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. The old Albert E. Brumley hymn. One Mama used to sing while she washed dishes back in the trailer in Varney, her voice carrying out the screen door into the evening heat. Same song they sang at her funeral and at my little sister Emily's too, though Emily had only been 7 and couldn't carry a tood in a bucket. She'd just lisp along on the chorus, that soft S like a secret. I'll fly away. I slowed down without thinking, eased off the throttle until the engine dropped to a low growl. The singing didn't fade. It adjusted, slowed with me, voices never rushing, never breathless, like the kids weren't running alongside a 40-ton rig doing 50 on a mountain curve. They were just strolling through the trees, Sunday dresses and bare feet, keeping perfect pace. Goosebumps rippled across my scalp. I told myself it was a church group, late-night youth thing, maybe. Maybe some family camped illegal by the river, kids wide on s'mores and Jesus wandering too close to the road. Happens sometimes, I've seen it. But the harmony was too good, too clean, like a recording, except recordings don't change tempo when you tap brakes. I sped back up to 60. The singing sped up with me. 20 miles this went on. 20 goddamn miles of twisting blacktop. The voices never falling behind, never pulling ahead. Every time my headlights swept across the tree line, I expected to catch little faces in the beams, pale cheeks, eyes shining like combs, but there 1 second and gone the next. Nothing, just rhododendron thick as walls and shadows that moved wrong. My mouth went dry. I reached for the thermos of coffee gone cold hours ago, took a swallow that tasted like ash. The moon painted everything silver and sick, mist curling up from the French Broad like breath from something huge dying slow. Smell coming through the vents was river mud and something sweeter, almost like honeysuckle left to rot, same as that night with the woman who knew my name. Then the voices split. Half kept the melody, pure and high. When I die, hallelujah, by and by. The other half dropped to a whisper, soft as moth wings against a window glass, threading through the engine noise like it wasn't even there. Ricky. Not shouted, not sung, just spoken over and over, layered on top of each other in children's voices that weren't quite children anymore. Ricky, come play. Ricky, water's fine. Emily's voice was in there. I'd know that lisp anywhere, that soft S like a sigh. She'd drowned in August too, August of 1985, when the creek behind Grandma's place in McDowell County ran high after 3 days of rain. I was 12, supposed to be watching her. Turned me back for 5 minutes to skip rocks with Tommy Daya, and when I looked again, she was just gone. Found her 2 days later tangled in roots downstream, eyes wide open like she was surprised the water had kept its promise. I slammed the windows up so hard the passenger glass rattled in its track, hit the AC full blast even though it only blew hot, turned the CB on, then off again when all I got was dead air. Flipped the radio to AM and cranked it, some late-night conspiracy nut ranting about chemtrails, anything to cover the sound. They sang louder, clearer, like the glass wasn't even there. Some glad morning, when this life is over, I'll fly away. And underneath, Emily's voice, sweet and terrible. You were supposed to watch me, Ricky. Why didn't you watch me? I was doing 80 on curves posted for 45, trailers swaying, tires screaming. Prayer came out of me I hadn't said since Mama's funeral. Our Father, Hail Mary, every half-remembered plea I'd ever heard. Sweat poured down my back. The singing never wavered, never breathless, just kept perfect time with my heartbeat. Near the state line, when 19 straightens out a little before it dumps you into Tennessee, the voices came together again. All of them, sweet and high and loving, the way only dead children can sound loving. To a land on God's celestial shore, I'll fly away. Then they changed the words, just a little, just enough. Just a few more weary miles, Ricky, then you'll fly away too. I crossed the line doing 90, tears streaming sideways across my temples into my ears, snot bubbling with every breath. The singing stopped the exact second my ties touched Tennessee asphalt. Dead silence except for the engine and my own ragged sobbing. I didn't pull over until I hit the pilot in Newport, 40 miles later. Sat in the cab with the doors locked and the dome light on, shaking so hard I couldn't hold the coffee. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emily's face under black water, hair floating like dark seaweed, mouth open in that perfect O of surprise. I looked up the route later. There's been kids go missing along that stretch since the 30s. Runaways, abductions, drownings when the rivers run high. Locals call them the river children. Say if you hear them singing "I'll Fly Away" on a full moon in August, you best not stop, best not answer, because they're still looking for playmates, still trying to finish the game. I haven't run 19 cents, not in summer, not ever if I can help it. I take I-40 now, even when it adds 3 hours and burns twice the fuel. Dispatch thinks I'm superstitious. My daughter, when she still talked to me, thought I was finally cracking under the grief I carry like an extra load. Maybe I am, because some nights, when the moon gets that bruised color and the air turns thick enough to chew, when I'm parked at a lonely TA with the window sealed and the AC rattling, I still hear him. Way off in the trees where there shouldn't be any trees. Soft, patient. I'll fly away, oh glory. Waiting for me to come back to North Carolina. Waiting for me to slow down just once. Waiting to finish the verse they started. And God help me, sometimes I want to let him. Sometimes I think Emila's lonely. Sometimes I think maybe if I just pulled over, if I just rolled the window down and said I was sorry, maybe the water would finally let us both go. But I don't stop. I keep driving, because whatever's singing out there in the dark isn't my sister anymore. And it isn't children either. It's just the mountains remembering every kid they ever took and practicing the song for the next one.